All right, guys, so here's a project video. I wanted something like this, a drop bolt style or magnetic lock that's an access control type system to function on a sliding patio door. Because in my case, I have two sliding patio doors. I have just a standard drop lock and the lock down here. Now, if you open this, you'll see this lock is just a simple lock that grabs to the frame. That's it. So it doesn't actually, there's no bolt that goes into the actual door frame, so it's not terribly secure. And my kids open that all the time. My wife, on the other hand, always tends to forget this, which is also not the easiest thing to line up all the time. She tends to forget this open. The kids tend to forget this open. Next thing you know, you have an unlocked door to your house. And I have two. You can see the other patio door right there. So originally I was going to install this. However, I decided I wanted something fully SmartThings controllable. So what I decided to do was take one of those, because these things are powered alone just by 12 volt DC or 24 volt. Here it is. Just the drop style lock. There's the bolt. Here's the receiver. You have 4 wires coming out of here. Those 4 wires you can see on the wiring diagram. Red are positive, or red is positive, black is ground. So your black and your red are your power. And then your white and yellow are normally closed, basically, a common and normally closed. So basically all you gotta do is take a SmartThings capable door or window sensor, take that to the external terminals, or solder it right onto the reed terminals on the board, and voila, now you've got the door sensor on your door, and you've got the lock on your door for a sliding patio door. This switch right here is your only physical control of this lock, either 0, 3, or 6 second delay from when the position either slides closed or closes the way a normal open closed door on hinges would close. Once those magnets come into line, the bolt will drop either after 0 seconds, 3 seconds, or 6 seconds. So what I decided to do was install this on my sliding patio door. Again, you could use this, or you could go ahead and use a magnetic style. They are the same thing. You can see on here on the diagram that the working state is 1.2 amps, which is to drop the lock. Persistent state 120 milliamps. This thing draws next to no power when it's locked. So it's not going to be expensive to have operating in your house, and it's reliable. So here we go. I'll show you what I did, and then I'll show you the software side of things. So originally, here is where I had my back patio lights. It was a single gang switch. I just popped in a new old workbox, split the hot line to 2 Z-Wave switches instead of 1, so my back patio lights and the door lock are right there. This right here, it's AC power, is controlling simply one thing, that outlet that is up there. That outlet, I just fished up the wall of the wire, installed another single gang old workbox, and took a 12 volt wall wart that I picked up at Goodwill for $3. Wired it over. This is not completed, by the way, guys. It's physically installed so you can see it, but it will cosmetically be finished up later after this video with some conduit. I think I'm going to stop at Goodwill one more time tomorrow and see if I can pick up a white wall wart, but if not, I'm going to stick with black, and then my curtain rods will go back up to cover the door, etc. But as you can see, there's my drop lock. It's hard to see because I spray painted it black. Unfortunately, I didn't have a regular flashlight I could find. I don't know what the kids did with it. They absconded with it. So I just took my black light. It does what you need it to do. You can see it installed up there. Onto the door, I just screwed it in. It does overhang the door, the window itself. So there's one screw that's not in there. Those two are, those are not. I had shaved this lip down on the door jamb. I didn't need to do that. I'm gonna paint that later. However, on the top, the actual door jamb itself over here, if I put screws through this, if the door was closed, I'd actually screw the door closed, or if it was open, the screw would get in the way of the door being able to close. So what I did for the top one is originally, actually to space it,
it's hard to see. You may be able to see back there. There is a metal shim that I bought at Home Depot and cut specifically to size. That shim is to keep these in line, because obviously there's a differential distance between this piece of metal and this piece of metal. Even if you were to shave this off again, there's, you know, a slight gap which the drop bolt would not go into. So anyway, again, I put the shim there. I Gorilla epoxied that shim up, let that set for 24 hours, and then came back and put the drop bolt on again. Gorilla epoxy, did it in the morning, kept the door slightly open with a vice clamp on there until evening, and then voila, it stayed up. I have tried my damnedest. I can lift just about anything that can be lifted with two hands. I cannot get this door open. It has not ripped off that epoxy. So anyway, there's the installation. So what I did was, in smart lighting, you can do it in Webcore, Stringify, whatever you want, however you want. You don't have to have it auto lock. I have it auto lock. So when I turn this off, the drop bolt drops, or it turns off. Now it just turned back on again. So what happens is, smart lighting in my case, I turn it off, it immediately turns the switch back on. So what I did was I set that to the 3-second delay. So here we go. Push the lock, it turns off, then it turns right back on. And the flash is, it's ready to lock, but it hasn't locked yet. Once it goes solid green is when the bolt drops. So again, turn it off, open the door. Now the power went back on, the door's open, it says red, can't lock. As soon as I close this, flashes for 3 seconds and locks. You can again set that to 6 seconds. You could set it to immediate. So as soon as that magnet comes into line, the bolt drops, however you want to do it. In my case, again, I did a 3-second delay and I put this here. I'm planning on actually moving this switch up and installing a second gang up there, probably tomorrow before I finish this all up, and then just put a blank spot on the wall plate, put another Xiaomi button over here so that I can mode control the button that controls this. That's just my own personal preference. But in any case, the idea was I want something down here that the kids have access to in case of a fire. They can turn that lock off, they can get out, just like any other door. I don't want it to be locked if they can't, if there's a fire. In the case of a fire, my system would normally turn off and turn on a whole bunch of things, turn on all the lights, turn off all the fans, blah, blah, blah. I have this specifically set to turn off in the case of a fire. So it would turn it off and inhibit the ability to turn back on and lock. So here we go. Let's go outside. This is the $1 million problem. You can put this in all day long. By the way, sorry, my kids got a hold of some chalk today and colored all over the wall. I still have to clean that, haven't done it yet. But now you can't get back in the house unless you have your phone. That's kind of annoying, because who carries their phone all the time? Not everybody, especially my wife. So what I did was, here we go. Here is a waterproof outdoor box, and inside is an iris keypad. Now, I will show you all the software for this in a moment. The installation is simple. All you have to do to fit this in nicely without having to jam it in is take a Dremel and just shave down the top and the bottom over here, and it'll slide right in, fit perfectly. I did mine sideways. You can do it vertical, drop down, whatever. But here we go. The panic button over here, I changed this to a doorbell. I'm actually going to color this with nail polish, bright green, so that the kids know that's the doorbell, in case they were to come outside and lock themselves out because they are young. They're not going to memorize a code and understand how to do this, but they do know how to press a button. They can press this and it sends a text message, sends an audio command in my house that somebody's at the back door looking to come in, and then I can come downstairs, open it up, look on the cameras, see, etc., etc. But I'll show you all about the lock manager momentarily. But for now, I set the code 2580, hit the on button, and the drop bolt unlocks. Now I close it, 3 seconds, drop bolt locks. Again, 2580 on. Runs a routine, which, presto,
unlocks. Now, the other command that can work with this keypad, and there's a whole bunch that I'll show you in the software, in the Smart app. If you just press the on button, you can have it set to turn on, turn off, toggle, etc. In my case, I just set the toggle for specific lights, which are my back patio lights. There you go. And you can toggle. You can set it where this is an on and partial is off. The off button for some reason doesn't work as on and off like you would think. It's on and partial would be your on and off. You can have it flash lights, you can have it toggle lights, etc. In my case, I just set up toggle on off instead of on and off, but whatever. So there's that. There is the ability to ring the doorbell. There's the ability to put in a code that runs a routine. And the keypad is now protected from the elements. So again, door's unlocked, come inside, close the door, door locks, presto. So now we have an inside and outside access control for the door. So this keypad is not running right now. I took the batteries out, so pardon the fact that you won't be able to see it demonstrated on here, but again, just a plain old Centralite Iris keypad. You can use the Centralite brand, you can use the Iris brand. I believe there's one that's Comcast or Xfinity, whatever their home security is, that also works. They're all the same. But take one of these, and presto, you have a SmartThings controllable one of these. That and a door switch, or a light switch. Don't use a dimmer, use a switch. So here's what I originally started using. Ether's Lock Manager. I found that this was a little deficient for my needs because this interacts no matter what. When you want it to run a routine with a code, it interacts with Smart Home Manager. I don't want that. So what's great is another user, Bamarain, he developed Keypad Coordinator. This thing is absolutely phenomenal. For this use case or for about 50 other use cases with one of these, this is a phenomenal smart app. Please check it out. He did incredible work on it. It's just, I can't say enough good about it. So let's go into SmartThings. Here you go. There's my back patio door. Again, I can turn it off in here and it turns back on via smart lighting. Presto. And you heard the drop bolt open and close. Here's the keypad for the back door. Here's this keypad right now. Again, no batteries in it, but it's for the purpose of the video. I put it in this folder also you can see together. The device handler is the standard device handler that's out there for the Iris keypad. You don't have to do anything to modify it, just leave it all alone. Now you notice with this one, it shows the SHM state, this one does not. And that's because this one right now is synced with Lock Code Manager from Ether. This one is just with the Keypad Coordinator that you saw from Bamarain. So here's the Iris keypad, or excuse me, the Lock Code Manager. You can put it in, you can set a user. In this case, I set 1234 for the user code. And when that happens, you would normally hit 1234 on, 1234 partial, or 1234 off. That would be to disarm, to arm stay, arm away. And again, that interacts with Smart Home Manager. You can have it do all kinds of other stuff. You can have it run a home phrase, etc., which is what I had it doing, the BPDUL, which is back patio door unlock. But I don't want it interacting with Smart Home Manager because, in my case, my Smart Home Manager actually mirrors the condition of my installed monitored alarm system. I have it done with a set of just relays that are connected to the outputs off my Honeywell Ademco alarm system, and this again mirrors the state. This will not control my alarm, but if I change it, I can manually change it on here, but it doesn't sync with my alarm. My alarm has to change and then these will. So if I do something on here and 1234 or 2580 for the case of the video and hit on, it would normally put it to away. Partial, it would put it to, it would put it to stay, and off. Again, I can have it run the routine, great, but it also interacts with SHM. So here's where Keypad Coordinator comes in. This phenomenal piece of work is just awesome. So here's the first one. back patio door. That's this back patio, or excuse me, the one that's over there, but it's the iris keypad. You select your keypad in here. So in this case, you want the user to execute actions. Yes. So what I did was I selected the keypad, which one I want, and then the code that you want to use, and then you can actually have it change the mode, such as your location settings, home, away, etc., whatever mode you have, or run a routine. In this case, I selected the routine that I wanted. So when I enter the code, what you do is you always just press on. It's like an enter button. The way this is set up, 2580 on, 2580 on, the other codes on, whatever. It's always that followed, it's the code followed by on. That will execute a command. If you wanted to control devices, this is where I showed you my back patio lights. So in this case, there's back patio lights. You can choose the on button to turn them on, the partial button to turn them off. You can select which ones. You can on toggle, and the on button alone to flash. You can set that all up. So again, you do on, and it toggles on, off, you know, between the two, flash, etc. You can choose those. You have a whole bunch of other stuff you can do as well. Control momentary switches, virtual presence sensors, so you can change your presence. Control garage doors, so if you have like an iris or a central light, or excuse me, a linear garage door opener, you can do that. You can have it control smart home monitor too. So the good thing is this can separate smart home monitor from the ability for it to execute stuff. So this keypad can now function as essentially a button controller that also runs off of codes. But again, you can have a control SHM with specific codes. You can put the same code between two different things. So not only will it execute an action, but it'll do SHM based on the same code. In this case, the button settings are for the panic button. And again, you can restrict users from being able to do stuff, times of the day, etc., etc. But all I did, you can see, is I set that up where the panic button is set up as a doorbell, basically. The on is set up as a toggle. Again, you can use on partial as the on off. And in the case of the doorbell, unfortunately, you'll hear this. I haven't been able to go and modify the language on it, but here we go. Press that. Takes a few seconds.
Attention, attention. This is an emergency. Back patio doorbell pressed.
So that's the text that I put in, back patio doorbell pressed. Obviously the attention, this is an emergency, is coded into the Smart app. I'm going to dig into the code and remove that for my purposes. You can leave it, you can change it, etc., whatever. So in any case, that's how I control the door lock using the keypad coordinator from, again, Bamarain. Fantastic, fantastic work. Can't say it enough. The number of use cases now for these iris keypads or central light keypads just went through the roof. They're no longer just a smart home monitor capable keypad. They can do just about anything. And presto, use this with this and this magnetic style or drop bolt style, and voila, you have now replicated this a lot cheaper. Again, you can use any Z-Wave, any Zigbee, either in-wall relay, in-wall switch, etc. Or in the case of if you have an outlet like what I did up here, let's say you just put a plug-in module up there and then plug the wall wart into the plug-in module. It won't look as nice, but whatever. There are a multitude of ways, but voila, that is now fully integrated with SmartThings. Runs on commands that it'll unlock in the mornings or not, depending on what you want. Unlock for fires, unlock for whatever. But again, anytime you cut the power by turning that off, it fails open, which the bolt retracts. So it's safe, meaning people can get out in a fire as long as the power is cut. You put one of these outside, people can get inside, no problem. And there you go. Comments, love to hear them, love to see what people have to say about all this. Hope you all enjoyed this, and I'd love to see what people have to say.